had a series of visions when I was younger. And after each one ended, the same thought would be stuck in my head.
What did you see?
I saw a nun. Word of my visions reached the church, and I was asked to accompany a priest to an abbey in Romania.
The abbey has a long history.
Valak.
Not all good.
What?
Finley him down. Callahan's here.
Sister, please. This way.
Hello?
Fans are experts, movie month. It's my 6th year doing movie month. 30 movies, 30 days, 30 podcasts that you get to listen to. Fans not experts, movie month. It's my 6th year doing movie month. 30 movies, 30 days, 30 podcasts that you get to listen to, including this one right here. But wait, one more time. Fans not experts, movie month. It's my 6th year doing movie month. 30 movies, 30 days, 30 podcasts that you have the pleasure of listening to. An episode is about to start right now. An episode is about to start right now. The theme song is fading out because an episode is starting right now. I'm going to curl up on the couch here on a Tuesday night and talk to you about a movie I just watched called The Nun. Yes, it's true. 2 days in a row, I have continued my trek through the Conjuring universe, and I am almost 100% caught up and have fulfilled my duties as a completionist as far as the Conjuring universe is concerned. Folks, this came out last year, and it does tie into the Conjuring movies that we've seen. And it wasn't all that great. I guess I would say it's pretty easy to say this is the weakest of the films. I think even weaker than the original Annabelle, which actually I don't think was all that weak. Just the second one was so much better. And I'm not saying I hated this one. Like, it did get low scores on Rotten Tomatoes, but I mean, there was some stuff I liked about it. Like the style of it. It had a good style, which is poor to say, but what I mean is the visuals, the look, the filmmaking, the technical prowess. Like, it didn't look or feel, cheap or chintzy or anything. And I mean, none of them do. Excuse me. I've got a bit of a cough, but the good news is I'm home. We left my in-laws this morning back home where I just finished watching The Nun. So let's tell you the story. So there is an abbey, a church with nuns in it, right? And at the beginning we see these two nuns, and they go up to a door, and it says God ends here on the door. And one of the nuns is like, I think she had a key to something. She was going in, And she's like, don't fear, don't fear. And she goes in, and some evil takes her and kills her. And she says to the other nun, you have to go. You have to, save yourself. It's gonna want to get you. You're the only one left, or something like that. Or you're the last chance for it to get, obviously possession or something. So this nun runs into her room, throws a rope around her neck, jumps out the window, kills herself. The next day, or I shouldn't say the next day, it's sometime later, this young Frenchman shows up making deliveries and finds the dead body, freaks out. I don't know if he calls the police, and the police call the Vatican, and the Vatican brings in this guy, this priest. I think he's of Latin descent. I've seen him I remember seeing him on the show called The Bridge, and I've seen him in other things. He's just a very good actor, familiar face. One of those guys where you know him from something, but you don't know what his name is, and you don't know what you know him from. So he is brought in. He's, I guess, was it a miracle chaser or a miracle checker? I don't know. But he is a priest who's brought in to investigate this abbey. And he was told to bring this nun with him because it's a nunnery. And the nuns might say, this is none of your business, that he needs to bring a nun with her so that she can access things that only nuns can access. Now, maybe I could say nun 10 more times. So, okay. I'm trying to remember all this. So he goes to London to find a young nun who hasn't even done her vows yet, so she's not technically a nun. And she's like, I'm not technically a nun, I haven't done my vows yet. He's like, well, the Vatican obviously chose you for a reason. I'm so tired. I'm just so tired. Now, do we ever find out what that reason is? Oh, I'm going to spoil this thing. I'm not going through the whole story and not talk about ideas or thoughts that I have. Do we ever find out why the Vatican specifically chose her? Was it because she mentioned she had visions? I don't know. Anyway, the actress who plays this young nun is, I want to say Tessa, I believe is how you pronounce her first name, or it's like Tessa Farmiga. Sound familiar? Because she's Vera Farmiga's sister. That's right. It's her little sister. She very much is, of course, Lorraine Warren in all the Conjuring movies, including in this movie. But she is, well, wait a minute. What was I saying? That's her sister. Her sister is the star of all the Conjuring movies, Vera Farmiga. Actually, now that I remember, I think the movie opens up with the Warrens talking about the nun that they see and this vision that they saw, that they both were seeing, because Vera saw it during an exorcism, and what's his name? Ed Warren had saw it in his dreams and painted it. So that's how the movie started. Then we go back to 1952 in Romania. That's where this church is. So they are brought in by the man who found the priest, the nun who hung herself. They bring in this guy, and he calls himself Frenchy. Oh, I call myself Yanni because I'm yawning so much. So he's like Frenchy, but he's French-Canadian. It's like, it's just a very generic Frenchy name, and he's a French-Canadian guy who actually brings a little levity, a little humor to the movie. And he brings them there, and he's like, this is where I make my deliveries. I never see the nuns. I saw the nun was hanging there, and I brought her into my delivery area because it's packed with ice, hoping that maybe we could preserve the body. So they all go in to investigate, and he's like, is this where that's the body? He goes, yes, that's the body, but that's not how I left her. So the body was sitting up now. And the priest goes over, opens up the hand, finds a key inside the body. What's the key to? I don't know. So then, really, it's just a series of spooky things. Spooky things. So they go into the church, and they meet the abbess who runs the abbey, and she's like, and they never show her face, and she's like, talks the evil voice, you must come back tomorrow, as we will be doing our prayers. And then there's all these nuns praying. Some of them talk to them, some of them don't. I mean, that's really the gist of it. my God, like I'm trying to think. Well, then this happened. Oh no, it's just a spooky thing happened, and a spooky thing happened. That guy Maurice drops them off. He's like, "Au revoir, Pee-wee," and they that's from Pee-wee's Big Adventure. And he leaves and goes to a bar, but no, he leaves, and while he's leaving, he leaves to a burial graveyard, and sees a nun standing there, and then it sees a nun hang herself, and then tries to kill him. I mean, it's already all these monsters. I mean, what the hell? I mean, we're seeing monsters, and the nun. I mean, the dude takes one of the crosses with him, takes this giant cross with him for protection, even brings it to a bar, and the bartender's talking about some kid hung himself, and they're like, why would he do that? He goes, because of everything. All the evil things happen because of that abbey. So it's like this evil place, I guess, and it's ruining the village. He moved there from I guess, Canada, because he liked the simplicity of living with Romania, I guess. I don't know. So when they walk through the graveyard at one point, they're looking at things, and they're like, let's give this woman a proper burial, and they show bells on the outside of the graves, and the priest explains that, during the plague or sometime, people were afraid they might be buried alive. They weren't actually dead. So if they did wake up and they weren't dead, they wanted to let people know, and they'd have these strings attached to these bells. And it was like, oh, there's your foreshadow. That's going to come into play later. And it did, because when spooky things happened, somehow there was an open grave and the priest fell in it, and then it was completely closed. And he's ringing the bell, ringing the bell, ringing the bell, and monster hands grabbing him and ringing the bell, ringing the bell. And the young nun digs him out of the grave. A lot of this, and I have to say, I watched it, and then I took like an hour off, and then I watched it, then I took a little while off, then I watched it. I watched it in little chunks. Didn't watch it all the way through. I mean, I watched it all the way through, but didn't watch it all the way through in one setting. That's why these little set pieces are kind of like, they're floating around in my brain, and putting them together, there's no real reason to it. Like at one point, they're like, we have to find these nuns, and we have to investigate more, and we should find the abbess who runs it and warn her of this evil. Like, okay, let's split up and do this. I'm like, what? Why would you? Once something like this happened, I'd be like, yo, Father, I saw a demon nun, and you had these hands grabbing at you. Let's not split up at all, ever again. That's how I'd play it. But then, of course, they split up, and then for a while, they're just kind of like on their own. She finds a young nun who tries to help her, tries to explain to her what's going on. They end up saying, look, we pray around the clock, because here's the story. So they give the story of what's going on. So I'm going to see if I can stay with this. There was a duke who was very evil, and he built this place to have evil incantations. And he built a gate to summon evil, and I'm assuming this evil is the demon Valak that we hear about in Conjuring 2. And so he goes to summon this evil, and just at that time, I want to say the Crusaders, whatever, the Catholics come in, kill everybody, fight them off, and seal up seal up the gate before the evil can get through. But flash forward some time later, a couple hundred years or whatever, and there's bombing because of World War II, and that erupts things and wakes up the gate. And that's why the nuns now were they sealed it with the blood of Christ. The Christians had this blood of Christ, the Catholics. They have a storage unit for the blood of Christ that they can use for things like this. And that is what helped seal the gate. And I guess there's still some of that left hidden in the abbey. Long story short, when Tessa Farmiga finally connects with the priest and Frenchie, who comes back to help the priest with his shotgun, she's like, I'm praying with all of them. He goes, praying with all of who? And turn around, there's nobody there because all the nuns are dead and they're all visions. So this is what I expected. At one point, she mentions that she has visions, and she had visions as a child, and that's how she realized she wanted to be a child of God. Well, so did Lorraine Warren. She had visions as well, and the fact that they're sisters in real life, I thought they were going to make a connection, that they were going to somehow. First, I thought like this French guy and this nun were going to fall in love, have a baby, and it was going to be Lorraine Warren. But that really couldn't have happened because this only took place 20 years before the first Conjuring movie. And, I mean, Vera Farmiga is not an old person, but she's not 20 years old. So that didn't work. So they didn't really make a connection between the nun, the young sister, and Vera Farmiga, except they just were both Catholics and both devout and both saying they have visions. Okay. This demon nun is super cool looking, super creepy, but, all it does is go, which is enough, pretty good, So, they're all together fighting the nun. Frenchie, you think it gets killed, but he just gets beat up. The other guy gets pushed around. The sister gets shoved into some water, and I thought the priest was gonna bless the water to make it holy water. He didn't do that. Instead, there's the little bottle. They found the bauble. They found the key that the nun had used to open up this little area, this little hidden door that had the blood of Christ in it. So she finds the blood of Christ bauble, but during the ruckus, it gets away. And when she's in the water with the nun about to kill her, the creepy nun, she takes the blood thing, and you think, oh no, the nun is going to kill her. And the nun picks up the thing that holds the blood, and it's broken open. And then the young sister looks at her and goes, and spits the blood of Christ. She had the blood of Jesus in her mouth, and then she spit it all over the nun, and the nun, freaked out, and the gate was closed, and everyone was saved. And that's the nun. So you think that guy Frenchie is dead. He comes out at the end and saves her, gives her mouth to mouth. He's like, that's called the love's kiss or something. He was flirty with her, but he was respectful because she was a nun. It was harmless. So he's like, I feel so much better now. Ah, boy. And then he gets on their horse and buggy, and it's like, all right, father and nun, let's get you out of here so you can go report to the Vatican. And the church is, or whatever it is, the abbey is all fine now. So as they go away, the guy rubs the back of his neck, and you see this little upside down cross kind of imprint and just kind of like bulge out of the back of his neck. Then we flash forward 20 years later to the first Conjuring. They're giving a speech at Wakefield, Massachusetts. The Warrens are there, and they're talking about this guy who was one of the worst possession cases they've ever seen. And they said at the end of back in the 50s with the nun, she goes, Frenchie, what's your real name? And he said Maurice, and I was like, Maurice, is that some sort of connection? And she's like, thank you very much. They flash forward to the future, and they show the same scene from the first Conjuring where they had a possession with this guy who had the worst possession you've ever seen. Upside down crosses are imprinting on his body, bulging out of his body, and then he shows Lorraine a vision. Like, he grabs Lorraine, there's a vision, and Lorraine starts freaking out and screaming. We saw that talked about in The Conjuring. They mentioned the guy's name was Maurice in The Conjuring. Oh my God, this guy Maurice is the same Frenchie from The Nun. There's your connection. Now, they redid it with the actor now, because he wasn't the same actor, even though they made him 20 years later. And I read that they added a line. He also went by the name Frenchie, just to make it a little more obvious for all us people out there. But it was really cool. So, here's my thinking. This is separate from Annabelle, right? This is a separate demon. This is a different demon. the nun demon, okay, came from the ground or came from wherever inside that abbey and got sent away. But they showed a shot where the nun had something shoot out of her mouth and into Frenchie's, a snake. If you remember in Annabelle Creation, some black goo went out of the kid's mouth into the other kid's mouth, who became the evil Annabelle girl, teenager. So in this, it went snake into the mouth. Basically, the nun possessed it. So the nun possessed the guy at that point. Now, 20 years past, the Warrens are working on this guy. She shows him a vision. It freaks her out. And remember, she says, that vision that freaked me out, it was of this nun. And Ed Warren is like having, dreams and nightmares about this nun. So Maurice is the guy who actually made a connection with the nun 20 years earlier. Now he's kind of projecting the image and the idea of the nun onto the Warrens, who then fought the nun in The Conjuring 2. That's what they talked about the nun. That's why they saw the nun, because it all has to do with Maurice. That's from Steve Miller Band. Anytime I think of Maurice, and I speak with the puppetess of love. Some people call me Maurice. So that'd be a interesting name of a movie. Some people call me Maurice. So the demon. Okay. So the demon goes into Maurice. Maurice projects him somehow, influences the Warrens to think about it. And because the Warrens think about it, it comes back? No. I don't know how it ended up in England, but maybe it was just because of the Ouija board in Conjuring 2. It'd be nice to get a full... I'm sure there are on the USA Network. I'm sure there are on YouTube, like, full explanations of the timeline and how things kind of fit into each other. It might just be made up by those people doing the YouTube, but they probably put a lot more research and thought and time into it than I did. So it's, it was a finely acted movie. It was okay. It felt almost at one point I was like, am I watching an Indiana Jones movie? I mean, there's shooting and there's a lot of running and there's like these, sometimes it just felt like almost not action comedy, but actiony, a little more action to it. And I don't know if that worked for me. I like these small, suspenseful scares. And this one had some, but the nun's just slowly walking. Once they start running, then I get freaked out. The hands, and though there were some good scare gags in this, but I don't know. It's a weird thing because even if you consider these bad, if this was the worst one, and it got really bad reviews, I can still find something to enjoy in it. I just some of the acting and how these things tie into the bigger world. I love that stuff. Even if the movie is a little subpar, they're building. Apparently, there's going to be a Slender Man movie, or at least that's the talk. That's the scuttlebutt. Oh my goodness, I think that's it. I'm not going to take as long as I did yesterday. Or am I? Oh my God, it's 10 minutes of 11. I still have to... I've been pushing these late. Tomorrow, I'm going to be home for most of the day. Try to get this done earlier. Thursday, hopefully I'm at the theater. Friday, very early. Saturday, very early. Sunday, very early. Oh my goodness. No more late nights for me in these movies. This is the last one. I go stand in the mirror and I look at the angle of the picture that I find, and I try to take a bunch of pictures of me trying to fit that face. Take one, cut it out, make it work, color correct it, put it on the Facebook page, upload this audio, put the picture with the audio on Anchor, put it all on Blogger, upload it, then Instagram it, Facebook, tweet it, and then letterboxed it. That is the process, and I have 1 hour and 10 minutes to do it. The Nun, was it good? That's none your business. Just kidding. Was it good? It was okay at best. It was subpar. Some parts I liked, some parts I was just like, that's happening so that this can be scary. That's happening so that they can be separated. Some things are just a little too actiony, a little too, I don't know what it was. It just was a little different. Where all the other ones had that slow, methodic scare tactic. This had that, but it also had at one point a big, a zombie nun is chasing the guy, and the other guy shows up with a shotgun like he's Ash and takes out his boomstick and shoots them. And it's just a little different. But I'm excited to see where we go from here. And, if they do make a Slender Man movie, not Slender Man, Crooked Man. If they do make a Crooked Man movie, guess what? I'll be watching it. But, my friends, there's only one Conjuring movie left, and it's in the theater. So we shall see what we shall see, hopefully Thursday morning. As for today, I consider myself done talking about it. You can find me on Twitter at Geek Mentality, on Instagram at Geek Mentality. The website is fansnotexperts.com, and the Facebook page is simply Fans Not Experts. There are a couple series that I wanted to watch. One of them has 6 movies. I've watched 5 of them. One of them has 6 movies, 5 of which I hadn't seen. I've seen 3 of them. That means there's still 2 movies within a series to watch. I wonder what I'll be watching tomorrow. But tomorrow is another day, and it's really about an hour and 10 minutes away. But until that time, which is not too long, ladies and gentlemen, here's my theme song. This is my podcast, I made it. Geek Mentality's what I named it. And I think you should listen and subscribe, 'cause I'm kinda funny and awesome. I think that I'm worth your time, and I'm kinda handsome. My mom says, please listen and please subscribe. At least listen to this episode.
Fans Not Experts.